Yeah, I think inevitably for sure. It's the old Friends episode with pivot with the couch, but definitely you got to pivot. You got to be one thing for sure is change is inevitable. No one likes change, but change is inevitable. And we really felt that I would probably say the most this last year. We always did a bunch of outbound marketing, really state specific and area specific. And we really were running with that fix and flip model. Whereas now we actually operate pretty much nationwide, with the exception of Texas and California.
Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. Today's guest, Nate Hirschberg, is a real estate investor in South Carolina with Stag Mountain Properties. You can find him at stagmountainproperties.com. Nate, thanks for taking the time today.
Appreciate you having me, Dylan. Excited to be here.
Now, the Carolinas are an interesting place. You were talking about this before the show. Obviously, being in South Carolina, you've been aware how great it is for real estate investing. But right now in particular, it feels like there's a national consensus that it's a great place to be investing in real estate, not just for folks who are living there, but also for out-of-state investors as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely true. No doubt about it. The Carolinas have always had this stigma, like we were talking about. It's a great place to raise a family. And there's tons of corporations here too. Like here in Charleston, Boeing, they don't have their headquarters here, but they've got a massive infrastructure here. So that paired with just a good quality of life, spot on. Yeah, Carolinas are getting flooded.
Now, I do want to ask you specifically about getting started in real estate in the Carolinas, because I know that you're involved in a number of different segments. You were talking before the show, mobile home, single family, wholesale. For folks who are getting started and they're not sure, hey, do I start with a flip? Do I start in the wholesale space? Do I go on market, buy and hold? What asset class should I be looking at? Is South Carolina specifically, is one segment, do you think, more feasible for a newcomer investor than another in South Carolina?
I think that's a good question. It is relatively market specific, but as a whole, I think a safe bet if you want to get started, Charleston or Carolinas aside, wholesale is, I think, the best way to get started. There's little implications for cash needed. You can really do a lot of damage with a mentor, and I think that's the underlying message here is if you want to get started fix and flip, get started fix and flip. Maybe you have some cash, maybe you have some experience, but get a mentor and find out what you want to do, because you might get into wholesales and hate it and be like, screw this, I want to fix and flip. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's the beauty of real estate investing is you can figure out what you're good at and what you enjoy doing and pour gas to that fire.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. I've had an investor on the show tell me, if you enjoy hosting people, you might be compatible to be a, short-term rental host,
Sure.
Airbnb or something like that. But if you are, encumbered, if you feel like it's bothersome to be texting guests and, managing stays and cleaning crews, and you're always, having to deal with, regular turnover, that could, of course, be an annoyance for you. So you do have to pair, what your interests and passions are with the segment of real estate that you're investing in. I
Yeah.
would like to get a little bit granular into the weeds if we can here on wholesale in South Carolina. I mentioned before hopping on, this is where I cut my teeth in Texas, specifically in the wholesale space. And each market is different, right? If we're talking, wholesale in South Carolina, for instance, what's the typical acquisitions price that folks might be targeting? There might be a range, right? But for a distressed property that might be a good, let's say a flip opportunity, what's the general range that you've seen for wholesale?
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
South Carolina, I feel like this is every state, but it's going to vary so much on your market. As an example, I could go into the what they call the upstate of South Carolina and get into some maybe not so affluent markets, and my price to entry is going to be far lower. I'm looking at ARVs, after repair values, and sub $200,000 still.
Oh, well.
Whereas here in Charleston, that's just not reality. You're looking at probably anchor price of 350 ARV to 400 is kind of your bread and butter. Then you have your higher end homes. There's a lot of people that I know that are making some assignment fees off of ARV properties of 800,000 to $1 million. It's really going to be in South Carolina specific to your market. But if you're just getting started, to answer a question a little bit further, I don't know that there is a better. Just know that when you're targeting sub $200,000 properties, you're probably going to have headaches that you won't have, such as maybe title issues. Maybe the area hasn't fully gentrified yet, so you might not have as many buyers as you will in maybe a little bit more of a gentrified market like Charleston.
I'm a big fan of the investing in the urban sprawl of cities. I think that that's a generally good strategy wherever you are. Of course, if you're in an area which is one of the major metros of the United States, that urban sprawl could be massive, and you might still be dealing with relatively high priced entry points. But when we're talking about South Carolina, Charleston is south or north?
South, yeah.
Okay, sometimes get that confused. Thank you for clearing that up for me. When we talk about Charleston, for instance, and you're looking at that urban sprawl, what are some cities or towns on the outskirts of Charleston that people might want to keep an eye on if they're looking at, okay, well, maybe I'm not in Charleston proper, but I'm investing in the outskirts outside and there's some opportunities here.
Totally. And I love that too. Like how we set up our marketing, just for like context on that, is I always look at some major metropolitan cities, but then 1 hour in each direction as the crow flies is kind of my marketing radius. You're usually safe with that. You avoid super rural areas, but you're still close enough where a lot of folks will commute to these metropolitan cities. It's more affordable. To answer your question about Charleston, though, Somerville is a really up and coming market, almost unrecognizable within the last 5 years. And then you have your Goose Creek area and Monk's Corner. That's more so like your outskirts of Charleston proper, I would say.
Now, for flippers specifically, and I do think that flipping may be coming back slightly, but it certainly hasn't been easy over the last handful of years. What I've seen, and this is coming from my Texas, experience now, is flippers are competing in many markets with, new homes and ground up construction, which historically wasn't always the case. But when people have the opportunity to buy brand new, some cases below 300,000, from one of the national builders, and these flips can be, around the same price point, it's something that people have to keep in mind. So in some of those towns that you mentioned and in the urban sprawl of Charlotte, are, people having to keep an eye on, hey, what are new builds going for? Because, ultimately our end buyer might be looking at either, a pre-owned property, or they might go new based on the price point.
If you're looking for consistent, high quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I used to be really flip heavy. From the first year that I got into this business and did it full time, I did 32 flips that first year. And now looking back, I'm like, I couldn't imagine doing 32 flips with the market condition the way it is now. So it's been tough. New builds obviously are going to have a little bit more of an attention to them. They come with that, extended warranty, generally 12-month builder warranty. It's brand new. You can't really go wrong with that. And I've done new builds. I've done new builds based on the most recent one that I did was exit price of 2.5 ARV million. So 2.5 million for the ARV. But I
Wow.
had a buyer before that was even built. And that was just so much more enjoyable. Now I have a flip listed right now for $350,000 that was supposed to take me 4 months. It's now on month 7, and I'm just now getting out from it. And, I think that speaks volume of like, you just have to put your best foot forward. If you're not going to do new build and you still want to flip, you got to put a really good product out.
Now, what I've heard about, you mentioned the property potentially it's taking longer or sitting on market. I've also heard that, people do have to be careful about improving beyond what the market supports, right? So I've seen folks go in with the mentality of, okay, I have a pre-owned home. I want it to sell quickly, but then they'll put in, $70,000 more than what they had previously planned into work to get a, HGTV level flip, but they're in a street, even just on a street by street basis, where it doesn't warrant, that level of an exit price. Is that something that you've run into over there, or that you've seen, or is it really not an issue because, people are willing to pay a little bit more for a nicer, property in those markets?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think at some point, inevitably, there's a diminishing point of return on if you go through and put gold sinks throughout the whole home and it's a $300,000 home, that's cool, but you're probably not going to get that back. I'm a big fan of looking at comps in the area that sold quickly. So in this market, like 45 days and under, and looking at what did they do, because that moved, right? And this now I have a general scope of work that's conforming to the area and has a actual historic data set showing that people want it. And that's usually how I go about doing my scope of work to make sure I'm not over improving.
I think a lot of people, maybe go wrong unintentionally because they have a cookie cutter approach. And if
Yeah.
they take that cookie cutter to an area where there's no cookies, in that area to match, then they're potentially putting something on market that the market won't support. You mentioned, adapting what you're doing to what those comps show. Do you have like a recent example of that so we can give folks like, hey, this is, something that happened on a project?
Yeah, actually, I do. So here in Charleston, I have, my standard base level material that I always use, the selections. And this particular home just the layout was a little funky. So we actually went with different selections throughout. I hired somebody to do this for me because the design plan, I just couldn't conceptualize it. So we had an actual pro come in and give us basic renderings that were better than anything that we would have come up with, and it paid for itself 10 times over. That's the house actually that I was referencing earlier, and it really is totally different than anything that we had done before, but people loved it.
How often are you working with, a design professional? Is this a one off, or do you do this on each property?
That one we've used them twice. It's something newer that I've started doing, because it just makes it easier, and the thing I like about it the most is it enables the designer to hand the contractor a outline of the level of finishes to the point where she'll actually have product selections on there. So like for the tile, here's what we want for the bathroom. they don't have to think. So when the contractor and crews don't have to think, they can move with speed and certainty, which shortens that process. And as we all know with flipping, time will kill all deals. So
Kills
the
deals.
faster we can move, the better.
Now, I know that you're involved in some other segments. You were talking before the show, mobile homes, wholesale. You mentioned, doing 32 flips at one point. I also know, in order to stay active in real estate over a 10, 15-year period, people are going to have to pivot and adapt. Walk me through, some of those pivots, where you maybe started to shift away from the fix and flip strategy to where you are today.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
Yeah, I think inevitably for sure. It's the old Friends episode with pivot with the couch, but definitely you got to pivot. You got to be one thing for sure is change is inevitable. No one likes change, but change is inevitable. And we really felt that I would probably say the most this last year. We always did a bunch of outbound marketing, really state specific and area specific. And we really were running with that fix and flip model. Whereas now we actually operate pretty much nationwide, with the exception of Texas and California. And we really just wholesale innovate. We went away from outbound marketing heavy to inbound marketing because the quality of the leagues, while they are more expensive, the quality is just so much greater. Whereas, you're going nationwide, you have a wider approach. That's been the biggest thing for us is just shifting the marketing, being okay with that additional ad spend and making sure that our processes and systems on the back end were dialed in enough that we can move with certainty on the nationwide model.
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about, remote wholesaling, I think there's so many people who want to do it, and I've attempted to do it, and it's not easy. And some of the things that come up are things which, if you have a granular knowledge of the area, might be secondhand nature, like which title company to go to, right? In many cases, people can use someone that's near them, that's licensed in another state, and so forth. But I've come up against these types of barriers, or where, a local seller wants to go with someone who's in their neck of the woods. And then I, really have difficulty corralling the moving pieces when they're out of state, right? Being that you're doing this remotely, how have you dealt with some of those issues, as someone who's wholesaling remotely?
Yeah, it can definitely be challenging. And I think a lot of people downplay it. They hear, oh, I can just go nationwide and think it's going to be easy. I think really for us, it's been one, establishing local boots on the ground. So we use real estate agents as a whole in areas that we do a lot of volume in. And you got to make it advantageous for them, right? Hey, like we're going to be sending you volume. There is going to be times that we might need you to go by and grab pictures of the property for us, maybe drop off some documents, have them authorize them for us. We use Investor Lift, so we'll sometimes use that data set for like closing attorneys. They do a really great job. But I think the biggest thing that we found is setting clear expectations with the seller as soon as we get in contact with them. Like, here's who we are, having a really polished web page, having 5-star reviews, and force sharing that information with them so you can make them feel comfortable as opposed to like just hoping no one goes in person.
Yeah, that's a great point. One of the things that I've noticed, you mentioned Investor Lift. It's an amazing tool, right? But, that's for folks who aren't using these types of tools, you're competing with people who are doing this at scale. And it becomes, very challenging. Because if I'm an out of state wholesaler and I'm, using some skip trace list that I bought offline and someone else is, using what's the highest level tier in Investor Lift? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Cartel mode, yeah.
Yeah, if someone else is using cartel mode in Investor Lift, it's going to be challenging for me to compete with
Yeah.
that person. And so, yeah, remote wholesale, is great if you can do it. But the flip side is that there's a lot of people, especially now, who are aware of what wholesale is versus, 10 years ago, let's say. And so now there's just more people, there's more competition trying to get in the game, which I'm sure you've seen as well. We
Certainly.
are actually coming up on time here though, Nate. Any new projects that you're working on? And then as well, what's the best way for folks to get in contact with your team?
Sure. Yeah, we have one new project. It's going to be a really awesome deal. We're taking a plot of land, subdividing it, and putting some really nice modular homes, some Clayton homes on there that are HUD approved, so people can get financing for them. And that's going to be an exciting project. Offer some actual affordable, nice housing in the area. So I'm excited for those. If folks want to reach out to me, Instagram is probably the best way. It's at the REI Nate. And just hit me up, send me a message any way I can help. I'd love to. If I can't, I'll also tell you that too.
Nate, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thanks for your time today.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.